Hey everyone, you're listening to the Breezy Moms Podcast, a weekly show that chronicles the adventures of motherhood. I'm Candice. Now let's start the show. Hey guys, I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for joining us.
You know, it trips me out because you always start the show that way. I'm so excited to be here, and I'm like, it's weird. I don't know.
Why is it weird?
Because you go like, hey guys, I'm so excited to be here. And I'm like, okay.
But I am.
I know you're excited.
I'm legitimately excited every time.
Last week I said to you, and you are, and you're like, what do you mean who I am? Oh, I'm Candice.
I forget who I am before I forget to say I'm excited because I'm more excited than I care about who I am. What are you doing?
I don't know. This thing is just doing its own thing.
Oh my gosh.
You know, it just literally started playing on its own. I don't know.
Phone home, Tommy.
Mm-hmm.
Come in, check in.
Yeah.
We're here. It's Thursday.
It's
Breezy Mom Night.
Mm-hmm.
And we're here. I'm so excited for tonight because my friend Amanda is joining us in a little bit. We're going to be talking about the top 5 things you said you wouldn't do as a parent that you definitely do now.
That should be
Isn't
fun.
It's just
do you have your top 5?
I have several. I'm gonna try to bring it down to 5, but we're all judgy.
So you have like a top 10.
I have like a top 30.
Oh my god.
And my favorite is, I'll remember to say, I asked James what his were, and he said he has more things that he thought he would do that he doesn't do. So that's a good thing for another episode, like the things you thought you were going to do as a parent because you were going to be the best parent that's ever lived ever, and you're just as shitty as the rest of us. You actually have no idea what you're doing, and you let them watch TV just as much as I do. So that'll be for another time, but I will do his number one thing, which I thought was pretty funny. And so anyway, Amanda's going to join us, but before we do that, let's just jump right into.
I know. I do have a question for you.
I'm listening.
How are the boys?
The boys are good. The boys are good, except we're all sick. So we got a little bit of a cold running through the house right now. And Lincoln is super strong. I should say that he doesn't often get sick. So when he does get sick, it's like a little mini man flu. He's like, oh, my throat is hurting so bad. My neck. Oh, he says my neck. My neck is hurting. And the first time I was like, oh my God, did you strain your neck? And he just means that he's coughing and the inside is hurting, but it's like full blown man flu. And, which means it's like the flu that we all get, but men feel it worse than we do.
We're just big babies.
Yeah, that's really, you said it, not me.
I'm a man. I can say that, you know?
So he is doing okay now. He kind of got through. But the thing that I learned from this particular bout of sickness, that after 4 years of being a parent, like this is the first time I'm realizing it, that when you're sick, you usually don't want to eat, right? You're just like, oh, I don't feel like it. I don't feel like it. Like we all go through that. But what that also does is give you gas.
Really?
And when you don't eat for a long time, tell me, you don't feel like crampy and gassy when you haven't eaten for a long time?
Not gassy, but my stomach lets me know, you're super hungry.
Yeah, that's also called
like
gas.
You have to
crampy,
eat.
Gassy. Like maybe you're not farting, but that feeling, that like wrenching, turning feeling in your belly, those are cramps from gas because you haven't eaten.
I'm hungry.
Because you're hungry.
I'm starving.
But if you're 4, you don't know what that is. So he started going, my butt is hurting.
It's
And so I had to do a quick calculation to figure out what was wrong with him. And it was legit because he was refusing food all day and he was cramping from being hungry. And so then I had to, which was a whole nother thing, because I'd be like, you have to eat something. I know you don't want to. I know that generally we don't want to, but you have to drink some milk. You have to do something because you can't handle all these little these things that are happening to your body.
And it's so hard because, children can't sometimes vocalize
what
their pain is. It's like I have to guess, and not that I'm equating children to dogs.
Go ahead.
But
let me hear it.
My babies can't tell me what's wrong with them.
I know.
So sometimes I have to figure it out, and I was like, what's wrong with you? If I pick him up and he's sort of kind of like whining because I picked him up, maybe his stomach is hurting. You sort of kind of have to play process of elimination to figure out, okay, maybe this is it.
Right.
And then when you can't figure it out, just go to the ER.
Right.
Or in my case, I would go to, the emergency clinic for my doggies, for my babies.
I hear you. So yeah, I did that quick calculation of what's actually, when your kid says my butt hurt, you're just like, what is happening right now? And with little boys, you never know. Like I have actually said the words, please don't sit on the funnel. Like I've had to tell them, please don't sit on the like sharp thing that you shouldn't have near any of your little bits. So with them, I can't really be sure that there's not actual like real danger going on. But that was a thing, like lesson for me that I had never quite like thought about before. And I think also because I mean, I've been home now for a year and a half, maybe, but before that, my daycare provider was taking care of all of this, you know, like there aren't enough hours in the day when they're awake and you have them when you're a work out of the home parent, you know, like I just didn't have to deal with this kind of stuff. So it's a whole new ball game. I feel like I'm starting kind of from scratch, learning a bunch of things about my own kids that I didn't know the first time around.
Yeah, I know. James walked in to work today, and then he talked to me, and I'm like, "Ooh, you're nasally. What's wrong?" He's like, "Everybody at my house is sick." I was like, "You tell Candice that I said she better not bring that stuff into the studio because I don't want it."
It's so crazy because it made me think about, we had just had a conversation over the weekend about vaccinations, like you're a parent and you have kids and all we do is like talk trash about people who have anything negative to say about a vaccination. And it's just the idea that one sick person infects like 39 people in 5 minutes. Like you just, like you're so stupid to think that you can be fine. And this whole, lots of people say, well, if everybody else gets vaccinated, I'm going to be fine. And that's not what the show is about tonight, but just this idea that you can somehow protect your kid from like all these whatever issues. And it's like, no, we're all out here trying to protect our kids and you are like screwing up the system.
Right. It's like good luck. Good luck trying to keep your child away from germs.
Exactly.
Like when you let them out in the yard and they go and they roll over that all that grass where squirrels probably took a dump on or any other critter that runs around. And you know, it's like
But it's just the
really bring that all on them.
It's specifically this thing about for me about how fast something moves, and this is just a common cold. I'm sure we're just taking over the counter stuff, but just one person. There's 6 kids in and out of my house all day. That's 6 kids who are going back to their house to, you know what I mean? It's just
now. I don't want to get off topic. I know because I know that you're a daycare. We do. You're a daycare provider, and what happens when you do have a sick child?
Yeah.
Do you do anything special, anything different when you have all the kids with you in the house?
So, I mean, they're different. There's so many options and so many things you have to think about. I have in my policy that if I'm sick or if my kids are sick, then I close, right?
Okay.
Because sick, right? But you make the judgment with the, and I've been talking, I only have 2 clients, even though I have 6 kids, like one family has a lot of kids. You kind of talk it through with them. It's like, if I close, then you have to figure out something to do. And like, it's a whole lot of thing. And without feeling guilty about it, I still sort of talk it through with them. My kid is sick. He seems like he's going to be okay. How do you want to bring them? I could close and then you keep them away, but it seems like it's going to be okay. And I'll keep them on the couch but it's likely that your kids are going to get sick too. And so then parents make the decision, like we kind of
So
together.
you throw that back on them. So
well,
not so much.
Not always, but in this situation, because it wasn't puking all over. It wasn't like a nasty sick. It's just like a uncomfortable sickness that's still catching because we're all getting sick, but it's not like gross. Anyway,
do you hear this?
The point
it's still
is,
catching.
I don't like it.
I mean, it's all catching.
By the way, that was Amanda. Hi, Amanda.
Hi, Amanda.
Hi. Candice knows I'm a germphobe.
Right, I know, but it's kids.
As we're both moving away.
Whatever. You're gonna get sick anyway. But
she's nasty.
The point is that there's sort of this with me, since I only have 2 clients and I'm trying to be open and whatever, and you make a judgment call, right? This is a common cold. You can keep them home this week, or you can probably keep them home next week. But and they were willing. They were like, I think it's going to be fine. I was like, I think it's going to be fine. So the kids have actually been with me all week, and they're probably going to be a little bit sick over the weekend, but it's it's only 2 days. So
I can see the parents' thought bubble. I gotta get to work.
Exactly.
They'll be fine. And then when they're sick, you're going to be with them anyway. Right. So they'll be fine.
When they're sick, I'll still bring them back to you since you already got it.
Oh, that's too funny.
So, but in other situations, you have to, like if your kid is really sick, and I know that some providers have this this thing with their clients that the clients don't understand, that they kind of understand if the provider's sick, but they're like, if your kid is sick, like, you still should be open for my kid. They're like, actually, you would stay home with your kid if your kid was sick. So I should get to do the same thing with my kid. You just can't, it's hard for other people to distinguish because your home is your business.
Yeah.
So they don't see it the same way. But I think in this situation, they're going to be fine. In the past, I think I've only closed once so far for illness. Okay. But anyway, that's kind of off top. No, I think it's related because we probably, I'm sure somewhere on the list is about, if people are sick, I'm not going to bring my kids around. You know what I mean? You're like, I would never, I've been places and you're like, so-and-so is sick and they've got their kid, or like, people bring their kids to a place and there are people who are sick and you're like, I would never let my kid be around like sick people or whatever, and they're just points where when you have the kid, you're like, well, what am I supposed to do with them? I still have to do the thing that I have to do.
Cover your mouth.
Or, we have medicine at home. You'll be fine. Like it's just, so it's definitely related. But yeah, so that's how we're doing in the house. And I think Emery is probably on day 1.5 of it. And he's a little bit more of a trooper, although he's younger, so he still can't really express how he's feeling. And what's hard about having other kids in the house. So this was the other thought process about maybe closing, is when your kids are sick, they just want to snuggle, right? Mm-hmm. Even though that means coughing directly in your face and like licking your eyeballs, they just want to snuggle right next to you. And if you have 4 other kids, it's hard for them to get their time, because especially I have an infant that I'm taking care of. It's hard for him to find his moment to be able to come in and snuggle next to me. So that was the only other thing that I was thinking about with potentially closing, so that I could give them the one-on-one attention that they really need when they're sick.
Gotcha.
But they were okay.
Well, I hope they feel better.
I know they will.
Because it sucks being sick. I hate being sick.
When you're an adult and you can like explain and do and figure out what you need, and it's worse for kids.
Yeah, so it is. I agree.
It's so sad to see them.
I agree. Well, I hope they get better, and I hope you get better.
I know.
And you better not give me anything, otherwise you're not going to have
Lysol
choice
the
words.
mic when I leave.
Yeah, we're going to have choice words. Well, that's Chris's mic, so if you're listening, you better make sure you come prepared. Right.
No, we'll take care of it. We'll take care of it. And then James is doing well. He's had a busy week, and he's probably going to be sick over the weekend. It's like everybody gets sick one day. So,
she is evil. She got everybody sick.
No, if we're being fair, someone came to my house and made us all sick. It wasn't me.
I know.
But then, don't
shame
want to make
on him.
I know. And I don't want him to feel guilty, but I had to tell him. Well, I called him, I texted him. I was like, hey, did you guys have to take any real medicine? That was my real question. But in asking that question, you sort of say, hey, you made us all sick. But
am I right in saying that the person that we're talking about is the person you had on episode 1?
Episode 1.
Right?
Yeah, he's my favorite little brother. I only have one brother, and it's him, but he's still my favorite.
Okay.
But yeah, so I texted him to ask if because he said that they were pretty sick, but I didn't know if it was like antibiotic sick, or because with the kids, it's sometimes you kind of go, oh, it'll probably go through in a couple days, and then it doesn't. And I always feel bad when I think it's going to be over sooner and then it's not. And so then I feel bad that we should have started the antibiotics sooner.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Because it could either be viral or not. So.
Exactly. And so I didn't want to lose time. If you guys had to take antibiotics, then we probably will too. And we might as well start right away. But he said they just did over the counter stuff. So.
Okay.
We've been, and Lincoln is fine. The only other thing I'll say on this topic is this was the week when I realized that, like, I thought I was doing a good job in the daycare, but really it's all Lincoln, because the kids were just like, well, what do we do now? Like, it's Lincoln who's totally entertaining everybody and running the show on the like program front.
Well, he is quite a character though. He has a very outgoing personality, and he sort of kind of just runs around and be like, you say, come here. He's like, no, I'm
busy.
Way.
Yeah, and he's magnetic, and everyone wants to play with him. Like everybody at school knows his name. Like James walks him to school, takes him to school, and like adults are saying hi to him by name. Like there's just in preschool, your 2 teachers, but it's like every teacher in the hallway is saying his name. All like older kids are saying, "Hey, Lincoln, what's up, Lincoln?" I'm just like, what is going on?
You've got a little celebrity.
I've got a little like social.
They probably know that Mommy has a podcast.
I know. I hope so.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, it's good. So so when he was sick, the kids were saying, "Oh, I'm so sad that he's sick. I was really looking forward to playing with him." I was like, "Dude, what about me?"
Oh, well.
I know. So
got it.
So now I don't know what's going to happen when he goes back to school. It's like,
Dude, we missed you.
I know.
That's fun though.
So he's good and he's better. The first 2 days he was laying on the couch, but now they were playing today. We had Water Wednesday yesterday, so he's feeling much better. It's awesome. It's a quick little bug.
Get rid of it.
I know. So I don't blabber on too much more. I think we should just jump right in and
we have a guest.
Amanda. Yeah,
and you've got a really good subject to talk about.
I'm so excited. I'm always excited, but let me be excited. Let me be excited. So my friend Amanda, who 7 years, 8 years now,
something like 2012. I think.
Yeah, is when we met. We used to work together. We started like 2 weeks apart, and shared an office. I remember that, and now you have your daughter is 3.
She will be 3 in October. Yes. Yeah.
So anyway, Amanda is joining us. She's my friend who started out as like a office mate. And, you're kind of like, I don't know who this is going to be, like what's going to be going on.
I'm afraid of where this story is going.
And then I quickly realized that she is just so awesome. And I think it started with all her references to 90s and early 2000 pop culture. I was like, oh, okay, we can get along.
It's pretty impressive. I mean, those were pretty much what the boy band years.
Yeah, that's not really my thing.
But that's not her thing. She makes like Old Dirty Bastard.
No, I actually remember exactly what you're talking about, and it was Lil Wayne.
It was Lil Wayne. Oh my God, it's Lil Wayne. Or she said something about like mystical or something. I was like, who is this little white girl? Like I had no idea. And so she's been awesome from day one. And so I was really excited to have her come on the show tonight because we've been talking a lot about this topic. It always comes up. And mostly because like we all have to admit that we're all judgy at some point. Mm-hmm. And my kids are older than hers, and I'm only 1 year older than her. Even though you got married way before, you've been married a lot longer than I have.
I got married in 2009, but I married my high school sweetheart, so like things were accelerated.
Right. But anyway,
so you guys have been together for a long time.
For a long time.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
You know what freaks me out? We started dating in 2000.
Wow.
Isn't that kind of scary?
That is weird.
It's kind of weird.
It's weird.
I didn't do it on purpose. Just kind of worked out like that.
Years.
Yeah.
It's a long
That's a long time.
Yeah.
So where I was going with that is that we can all be kind of judgy, right? And even when you think you're not judgy, you're kind of judgy. And because my kids are older than her, like I was talking about some of the things I was kind of going through. And I know she was, as much as we love each other, she was like, what are you doing? I would never do that kind of thing. And then as awesome as she is, she came back around like in cycle 2 to say, oh, actually I am doing those things. I'm sorry that I judged you.
You know what was so funny too? Like more than even judgment, it was like, wow, I just feel so bad for Candice. Like, why is she making these choices for herself? They sound so unpleasant. I'm definitely not doing that. And then gradually I just did all the things.
You'd be surprised though. It just comes full circle. Sometimes you just don't realize that you're doing things that, you said you wouldn't do, or that, you thought that maybe you were on the fence about, and then you end up doing them anyway.
Because I think before you have kids, at least for me, you have this, I don't know, misconception that you have some kind of control over what these little beings do and want and require, and that you can impose your will on them. And maybe you can, but I think you'd have to parent in a way that I'm not going to.
But, the other thing that we have to keep in mind, too, is that we tend to forget what we put our parents through, right? It's like all of a sudden, it's like we completely block out an entire section of our life and say, I never did that.
Never.
Yes, you did.
I never gave you a hard time on anything. I was
I was a good boy or a good girl. Nope.
No, you weren't.
And then you end up becoming your parents, right?
Yeah.
So it's weird.
It's weird. I hear my mom's voice come right out of me, and I can't even stop it. Like it just comes right out of me. So anyway, Amanda, tell us a little bit about you and your family and what you do.
Yeah. Oh boy. All right. So I have, like Candice said, so it's weird because Candice knows everything I'm about to say, but to listeners, I guess. So, yes, I have an almost 3-year-old daughter.
Wow.
And a wonderful husband. And we moved about 4 years ago into a house before the daughter was born, from a very small 2-bedroom condo. So home ownership comes with its own joys, like busted sinks that I was dealing with this morning. But
or mowing the lawn.
Well, he does that, but yes.
I hate it.
That's not my thing either. But so it's funny. How do I define myself now that I'm a mom is sort of a weird question, because I feel like everything I am about to say relates to how I take care of my kid and what I like to do. But I work as the lead of a team in charge of marketing and communications for a nonprofit organization.
Which is awesome.
Yes. And the great thing about it, it's sort of a double-edged sword. So none of the people that I manage actually work in my office. And so a great deal of the time I can work remote, which is great for a working parent and allows me to be flexible. Like most of the time I pick my daughter up every day by 4:45.
Wow, that's
Now,
great.
the trade-off is that you will find me on my laptop routinely at like 10, 11 o'clock at night, which is probably not all that healthy. But it's a trade-off that I'm willing to make. But yeah, I mean, like who I am, what do I like to do? I don't know. I feel like a lot of that stuff has changed over the last couple of years, but Candice has already outed me as a 90s music aficionado, as I like to think of myself. I like dancing. I like writing. I like playing soccer, hiking.
You're also a name aficionado.
I am. I'm a name enthusiast. It's kind of weird, but I really meant to.
So what's your
names.
favorite name?
Oh, this is so subjective. So
What are your top two?
How about I'll tell you all the names. I'll give you my top two names that my husband would not let me use for any children.
Okay.
So for boys, because I'm pregnant now, people on the radio, you can't see me, but if you saw me, there'd be no question.
She's pregnant.
Pretty pregnant. So the top two boys' names he wouldn't let me use were Xavier.
I like that.
But he watched the X-Men. And I guess that's the thing.
Yeah. Isn't that the Professor Xavier?
Isn't he a good guy? I don't know.
Yeah,
whatever.
but he's still an X-Men.
Well, the other thing is I want to say Xavier, even though I know that's not right.
Mm-hmm. There's a Xavier in my program.
Xavier? Yeah, it's a good name. And I liked Miles.
Miles is a good name.
I liked Miles because he was the baby on Sesame Street when I was a kid.
Oh,
he was Gordon and Susan's baby.
Oh my god.
Okay. So, but he wasn't down with that because he doesn't like names that are also words.
Interesting.
But the name thing, I like Tommy's face right now. He's like,
how
what does that mean?
Miles a word?
Like I got miles to go before I sleep.
Oh,
stop it. See, we share an office and a brain.
Got it. Okay. No more questions.
That was scary.
That was
Candice.
pretty good. I'm so happy that was on radio. Caught on tape. It's amazing.
But the name thing is really just that, like, before I understood anything about being a parent, I really got into helping friends. Not you. You didn't really need any help. But helping friends name their kids, because everyone tells you, this probably sort of goes to the judgment thing, like, what should I name my kid? And people say, like, I like Jaden. It's like, I don't care what you like. This isn't your kid. And it really, like, my opinions on the names of your children are sort of irrelevant. Like,
right.
So when I would help people, I helped a whole lot of people where you used to work.
You did.
It's just more like, what do you value? What do you want a name to communicate and convey? Like, what does it need to be of, like, a particular style or ethnicity or sound or whatever? And, like, let's find something that works for you, because it doesn't have to work for
She's like a naming
else.
consultant.
I know.
It sounds like
Don't
it.
you
I'm
have
like,
to be paid to be a consultant?
That's true.
She literally just
A
like
nonprofit.
broke it down into like 3 different like subcategories of what you should think about, from ethnicity to. I'm like, wow, okay.
Look,
break it
this
down.
is a level of nerdery that is not
Name
needed on
nerdery.
this podcast.
Break it
Yeah.
down.
I like names.
But I remember I would tell her like different names, or we'd mention names that are coming up, and she would say things like, "Oh, the soft E is really in right now," and I'm just like, "What?"
Yeah.
And then I look around, and the kids around me are like Emery, Emma, Emerson, Ellison, like in 2016, the soft E was
Do you have
a
an
thing.
Ellison? That's a name I love.
We have a friend whose son's
So
name is
cool.
Ellison. Yeah. So name nerdery was pretty cool. So where were we going
I like
with that?
that you're reminding me of my interests
Yeah.
that I've lost in the last
It's
couple of
weird
years.
because as a parent, and especially as a mom, you get so caught up in who you are as a mom that you kind of forget. And I've had this happen a few times, especially when I get people to come on the show, or I'm trying to convince people to come on the show. They're like, "Oh, I don't have anything to talk about." I'm like, and I rattle off these things, and like, "Oh yeah, I do all of that stuff." So sometimes as moms, as women, as parents, like we need to be reminded that we are a full person outside of these little people that we take care of, and as much as we love them, we still have a thing.
Very, very true.
So, Amanda, let me ask you. So you're pregnant.
I am.
And you're about to have a baby, obviously.
Hopefully not too soon. Not on this podcast.
I hope not.
That's why we were going to talk in September.
I don't own a wetback, so...
Candice is already German up the place. I mean, why not?
What?
Right?
First of all.
Although I have been... I was with my sister-in-law when she gave birth, so I've experienced everything, even cleaning her butt while I had her legs on my shoulder and she was pushing. So yes.
No, thank you.
I was there. But so you're a name aficionado. You love names.
I'm not going to tell you, Tommy. Is this the question? Okay.
The question that it is the question. The question is, I'm not going to ask you what the name is.
Okay.
Have you and your husband decided on a name?
I think we're nearly there.
Okay.
So I think we're close.
Okay.
He's not 100%. It was funny because with our daughter's name, I was like not all the way there. Even after, honestly, we gave her the name, I was like, I'll grow to like it. And it's the opposite. I think it's like you just know too many, like I knew too many women, he knows too many men or something. And it's like, I don't know.
Right.
But I think we're close.
Okay.
So
that's great. What was I going to ask you? Oh, so we were talking about parenting style. What's your parenting style?
Yeah, I loved this question because I don't know that I've ever tried to like put words to it. So I feel like my parenting style is a little bit like how much love can I put into another person? Okay. I'm sort of experimenting with the borders of that. It's just like I'm going to love you through this as powerfully that I can and I try to have that underpin everything that I do. And this is really funny because I am almost positive this is from an interview that I heard with like Jada and Will, I don't know, 20 years ago. And it just always stuck with me that when they had little kids who are now, like 20. So it's probably an old interview. But it was about how like if we have rules for you, they're to keep you safe. And like either because you're doing something that's a detriment to yourself or a detriment to other people. And that's what I really try to do. Like if there are things that we want her to do or not do, it's through the frame of like, this isn't good for you because, and I really rationalize with her a lot. I give her a lot of rationale and I always have between even probably when she was way too young to understand me because I wanted her to know like, this isn't just something that's going to happen to you. You're going to know the why. So I guess it's like there's a lot of attachment parenting, I guess, aspects of that, but I wouldn't have known to call it that until I read it somewhere. And then also just trying to, rules and limits within reason. I mean, other people would probably say I'm a softie. But in a nutshell, I think that's my parenting philosophy.
Okay, so don't do this because you might get hit by a car.
And today, we were walking from school and this little boy darted out into the playground and she came up to him and she said, "We don't run in parking lots because you're little and a car might not see you."
That's awesome,
that's amazing.
Though. But obviously what you're doing is working.
So, I mean, it works for us. And so that's what we try to do. And I try to, I feel like I'll make myself crazy if it's like, oh my gosh, no, you can't wear a purple shirt and green pants. And like,
right.
Why can't she? I mean, really, why can't she? So I try to use that as a frame for picking my battles. Like, is what you're doing going to hurt you or is it going to hurt someone else? Like either emotionally, physically, whatever. And if the answer is no, then I just don't fight about it.
That's good. I like that. I'm asking you the question. I haven't really thought about mine. I guess I would say my parenting style is breezy, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. And I guess that's what makes it breezy. But that's good. I mean, because sometimes people have lots of rules for little kids that they don't even understand. And then on the other hand, sometimes people get real. I saw this woman who said, in the age of Me Too, we want to make sure that kids, especially little girls, know that they have agency over their bodies. So she's like, "Can I change your diaper?" And I was like, "No."
See, I've read that too. I'm
much.
very into having agency over your own body. But there are ways to do that other than if I asked Amelia, "Can I change your diaper for the first 2 years?"
No.
Yes, get away from me. So what I did do, we're going straight down the road of me embarrassing myself, but that's fine. We're going to get
Go
there
for
anyway. So one of the things from my mother, which comes from my grandmother, is that my husband told me, he's like, this child is going to think she's growing up in a musical because all you do is sing. Like just what I'm doing. I sing makeup songs. Like most of them are appropriated from 90s.
Oh my God.
Songs that you would recognize. One of which is by Mystical, by the way.
But that's awesome though. My grandmother did this all the time.
Right? It's great.
It's the best.
So for changing her diaper, there would be a song that would cue the process so she knew what was happening every time, and then she would like jam out and be okay with it.
Oh my
so
God.
it's like I think there are things you could do to like let the kid know, like, okay, now it's bath time because my mom's singing Splishy Splash Wash Yourself. So there I told you.
I love it. But this idea of cues is really important, and I didn't recognize before just how. I mean, people always say, "Oh, kids like rules and schedules, and like they like to know what to expect." And I'm just learning that now. Again, spending so much time at home and now having the daycare, I didn't realize just how important
how much
cues
they
are.
need things to be predictable.
Right.
Because I sometimes forget. Like I told you could have a cracker. I don't know. And then I didn't do it. Or like last night I let you have a cracker before bed, and now you think you always get a cracker before bed.
Right.
So yeah.
It's so hard. The kids are like, okay, and I just woke up. Where's snack? I was like, first of all, relax. So they run from the sleeping area straight to the porch. And I was sitting in the living room waiting for them, and they're on the porch like tapping their fingers. And I was like, hey, snack happens when I say, guys, snack is ready. It doesn't just happen because you showed up to the table. But like little kids are just like that. Cues are important.
And I mean, some of this probably comes from, I'm a talker, obviously. I'm a communications professional. So a lot of it is, I feel like I use language in a really specific and deliberate way. Like I probably overthink some good amount of this. But for instance, like, so I'm pregnant and I was really scared to tell her. And I didn't know how she was going to react because she's like the only grandchild, the only child. She's like the apple of everybody's eye. And I just didn't know. Also, I remember being really mad at my parents for having a baby. And I remembered, because I was 3.5 when my sister was born. I love my sister, but I didn't really want her. She knows that, so she won't be surprised when she listens to this. Hi, Becky. But, so I was like, how am I going to, and a little bit, this is like parenting myself. Like Amelia, man, I said I wasn't going to say her name, Candice, and I did it.
I didn't do it.
No,
it wasn't me.
I did it. It was my slip. But that's part of my paranoia talking. So anyway, my daughter, she probably needs different things than I do. But I just remember what I need, and I would not have wanted, like, so I didn't like people saying, oh, to my mother, you're having a new baby, because I would think, I'm the baby.
Right, yeah,
like, what
yeah.
you mean a new baby?
Right.
So we have referred to this baby exclusively to her as your little brother.
Oh, interesting.
And whether or not that's going to make a difference, I don't know. But she's very into it right now. So that's the plan, is like just to try to be as communicative as possible. I mean, I also am, like you said, your kids are older. Like she's almost 3. This works as almost 3. I have no idea what works at almost 4. What'll work for this new baby? Like, I don't know.
So you know those dolls that they give to kids in school that cry and you have to change the diaper and all that stuff. The annoying ones. Can't you get like a nice version of the doll and pretend that the baby's there and sort of kind of get her acclimated and have her sort of kind of see how she reacts to it?
Yeah, I mean, that sounds horrible. I hated those dolls as a child.
I don't know if that's the route I would take.
She has
not necessarily that kind of doll. I'm just saying like a doll in general. Something that
we got one and Lincoln ignored it. He ignored it.
A baby doll?
A baby doll, and I put some new clothes. I put some like gender neutral clothes on it, and it was brown and the whole thing. And he ignored it because he wasn't. I think he was into cars and Transformers. But he did fine. I think what we did to get him ready for it is we picked our name early, and we very deliberately talked about the baby by name, everything. So he knew the baby's name. He knew where the baby was going to sleep. We got him out of the crib pretty early. So it wasn't a lot of this like, you're being evicted from this role.
We just moved her into her big girl room.
Oh, that's great.
She's super amped about, so I feel like that's good. I mean, she talks to this baby every day. Like it's all I can do to get her to not like disrobe me in public so she can speak directly to my belly.
And that has nothing, that is the baby, but is also just how kids treat their moms. Like Lincoln is up under my dress. We're in public. He's down in my shirt. And I'm like, dude, people are around. Please stop.
I will tell you the most humbling thing that she did. And it actually made me laugh, but also it's a little bit ridiculous, is that, you know, when you get pregnant, you gain a lot of weight, especially with me with the second baby. And I was wearing a long dress and she told me it was a tent. And she came up with a pillow and she laid on the floor under my dress, which was her tent.
Oh my God.
And I was like, all right, we're doing
God
this.
bless the child, right? They don't
You can get away with it. There was no malice in it.
I have to tell you, your daughter's going to be awesome when she grows up. I love her already.
She's got a lot of personality.
I love
Definitely.
her. I love her. So let's just jump right into so the topic of the night, besides all of those things we just covered, which could be topics on their own, is tell me some. Let's start. We're gonna do 5.
Yes.
And so tell me, what's your number 5 thing that you said?
I'm starting with 5.
You wouldn't do. I feel like the build up to number 1 that you wouldn't do, that maybe you saw someone else do, but you just thought you wouldn't do, that you definitely do now.
So 5 is a little bit of a I don't know, it's a little bit different than the other 4, but Candice knows this about me. Like, if I wasn't at work, my desired attire is probably like jeans and a hoodie. Like, this is what I feel most comfortable in, and I've always been that way. And so when I would see these little girls with their like dresses and all the hair's done to the nines and all this, I'm like, no, not my kid. And then I got a kid that would like to wear, she calls it a poof poof dress. Seriously, every day of her life. The only way I can get her in shorts is when it's a gym day.
Oh my God.
Which is like
50%
50% manufactured. I mean, like, she does have gym at school. But that's the fluffier the better. And I just never thought that would be me. I mean, part of that is
not you, it's her.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. Me as a parent, like, that is what I was talking about earlier with, like, before you're a parent, you're like, oh, like, my kid will just do what I tell him to do. But it's like, if she wants to wear a dress every day, like, she can wear a dress. Yeah. And so she does. And I'm sure these other mothers are like, I've seen these pictures at school of like the kids are on some kind of like special day where they're like climbing around and everybody, boys, girls, everybody is in a t-shirt and shorts. And there's my kid in her like fluffy green. Candice has to tell me what brands these things are. Remember, what was that thing?
Oshkosh?
Told me? No, I got it at Target. And she was like, this is a famous designer. I'm like, I don't know.
I can't remember her name now, but it's all the flowers. I'll come up with it in a second.
You don't have to, because I don't know.
Right.
But she just likes that kind of stuff, and I try not to like assign too much meaning to it, because in the beginning I'm like, shit, am I allowed to say shit? Mm-hmm. Okay. Yes. I'm like, I am failing as a like feminist, humanist parent here, that my kid, who her bedroom, we painted it blue and gray and green. Right. Like, we're not trying to play up the gender roles too much. And, she loves talking about princesses. So we're trying to do like Moana and princesses that I feel find like slightly more palatable. But, so that has been a big lesson to me. I think that I was like, I would never, and it's like, but you don't know what your kid likes. And like, it's whatever. It's not that big a deal.
It's not you. I guess I win it. Not win. There's no winning, but I win in that category because I have boys. So the assumption of them being just like me is less.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm not worried about what they look like as much.
But I've thought about that, like having a daughter now, this baby is a boy, like so it's easy to say, okay, you know what, Millie can wear a dress, and tomorrow when she wants to wear, like, she had a shirt with like, I don't know, Sasquatch on it or something that I'm sure is from the boys section, she could wear that.
Right.
Like, I really am going to have to put my money where my mouth is when this boy wants to wear a poof poof dress, which guaranteed is going to happen if his sister has any influence. Yeah. Right? And it's like in my brain, like, heck yeah, that's my. You said I could swear.
Yeah.
It's a habit from having a kid. But like in my brain, yes, we're going to do this. Mm-hmm. But it's like I think it's harder. I think you really have to live your belief. It's harder.
Right. It's harder
because of misogyny, probably.
Right.
But
like, I haven't had. The closest I've had to that is when I bought Emery a pair of sneakers that were neon pink, and they matched mine. And so he and I would go out in our pink sneakers matching, and people would walk up to me, and everything about him screams boy until they look down and they see the pink sneakers, and they're like, oh, is it a girl? And I was like, what?
This falls under the people are idiots category, though.
That's true.
Big time.
Because when Amelia, dang, man.
It's hard.
I know, because I'm talking to you.
I know.
I had this whole thing where I wasn't going to say her name because I'm the most paranoid person you're ever going to meet, but that's kind of over. So, anyway.
We call it fear spiral.
It is a fear. Candice gave me the term fear spiral, and I use it. It's really true. Fear spiral is like if I misplace this key before I've spent the 5 seconds to put my hand on the floor and look for it, I'm like, I could call AAA and then I could make sure that somebody picks me up with whatever. Like it's a whole thing.
And
so you have a game plan.
Yeah, exactly. It's helpful.
But my fear spirals always end in death. Remember?
And then somebody dies.
And then someone dies.
No, that's not good. But anyway, she didn't have hair for a long time, and so people, regardless, I mean, like seriously, this kid's in a dress, and people would think she was a boy. And what was really interesting to me is the different kinds of compliments that she got when they thought she was a boy, which was it was like, this gender thing is bigger than me,
right?
You know?
Right.
Like they're
like trying to be okay with it.
But there'd be people, like I remember being in a restaurant and this guy was like, he's going to be a football player someday. And I'm like, first of all, even if he's a boy, he's not going to be a football player.
Right.
Second of all, like, what?
And was she wearing a dress?
I don't know that she was wearing a dress. But then, like, my other favorite was this guy who worked at the grocery store that we go to. He knew she was a girl, but this is one of those compliments that I couldn't shut my mouth on, which was, she's so pretty, she could be a Dallas Cowboys cheerleader.
What?
Okay.
And
for like a 2-year-old?
This came from
she
an
was
adult, right?
less than 2.
Oh, my God.
And I said, because I'm not that good at shutting my mouth, so I said, or maybe not, or something like that. And he said, don't tell me you're a Giants fan. And I was like, we're taking the wrong thing away from what is messed up about what you just said.
He's probably completely oblivious to it, to the fact that
He
his
probably thought it
comment
was a really nice comment.
Right.
No, it's not.
No, I was like, this is messed up. But anyway, poof dresses every day. Not the kind of mom I thought I was going to be.
To allow it.
But that's what we're doing.
That's what we're doing. Okay, number 4?
Okay, so number 4, this is funny. So I actually vividly remember this moment. There was a woman we used to work with, Joy. Remember Joy?
Yes.
Okay. So I don't know who I was talking to. She has older kids, so she was there listening to this and probably being like, girl, you don't know anything.
You don't even
about what you're
know.
talking about. So I was talking trash about how this girl that I went to school in Boston, and a lot of my friends got like paid for themselves through school by doing jobs like being nannies for super rich people. Mm-hmm. And so they would go on vacations with these super rich people, like to Fiji or wherever rich people go. I don't know. And
au pair is a big thing.
Yeah.
Well, and I remember, and so what I was saying to whoever I was talking to in our office, what? Sorry, tell me.
So before you keep going on that, there is someone right now advertising that they will fly you to an island, a nice, beautiful, amazing, gorgeous island, and they'll pay for everything, all expenses paid, for you to go and babysit her cats.
Wow.
She's got like 25 cats.
Well, that's too many cats.
That's too many
So she wants to go away, and she's like, I'll pay for someone to come down to this island, beachfront property, watch my cats.
Somebody's
That's like
going
a
to do it,
vacation.
but not me.
Of course there is. But anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, so what I was talking to somebody in the office was like, these people, they don't even want to watch their own kids even on vacation. They don't even want to spend time with their kids on vacation. Like, these people are messed up. And Joy checked me in the moment. She's like, this is not about when they're awake. This is about when they go to sleep, and then you can't do anything because you're not allowed to leave them. So like, you're in some great city, but guess what? It's like every other night, and you're sitting at home like on YouTube or whatever. And I think I kind of registered it, but I was just like, whatever.
Right.
That doesn't sound like that big a deal. And now, not that we've been on that many vacations since her birth, but I've paid for my parents to come with us so that we could have a night out to dinner. And it's not about leaving the kid during the day. I don't know why I didn't put that together. And I really judge these people so hard. Like, why do you have kids if you don't want to see them on your own vacation, you know?
That is so real. This is why we did family vacations. Like 3 families go together. We go away for the week, and then each couple gets a date night because then the kids can stay
that's awesome.
with the other ones. Like, you start coming up with all kinds of, if you can't bring a nanny, right? Like, how are you going to make it work? Because really the sadness of being on YouTube on vacation because you can't leave the kids. Actually, my friend said that they did a thing where I think they put on a cell phone, or they did some app. So they had the phone with the app in the hotel room, and then they went to the restaurant in the hotel. So they were able to leave the room because it's like they had a monitor going, so that they could get to go to dinner. But I was just like, that's like white people shit. Because if I did that, I'd be in jail. Like, somebody would fucking find it and it'd be like, oh, look at these.
You come back to the room, your kids are gone.
Delinquent.
Yeah, you can't do that if you fear spiral.
DCF waiting for you with a big, here you go, ma'am, you're in trouble.
I actually have nightmares about that. Like, you have a lot of weird dreams when you're pregnant. I don't know. But I have nightmares that I like accidentally left her somewhere. Yeah. Like the thing that would never happen.
Right.
So that would literally be a nightmare.
I know.
For me.
But for them, it was, they were in the they were still in the building. Right. They had the app going because they have all the cool gadgets or whatever. So they could see the kids. And I was like, oh, that's pretty smart. But still in my head, I was thinking, again, I maybe I would never think to do it, but then I'm not sure that I would actually.
Well, and
do
the
it.
judgment level, like you said,
How
for
old
you,
were
right?
the
For
children,
me,
though, right?
I don't know, they were little, like 2 and 3.
I think I've seen this on like an
something.
episode of Intervention.
Right.
Like some lady did that. She wasn't in the same building though. But she did have,
I mean, there are people who leave their kids. Some white lady left her kids and went to Europe for 8 days and left the kids with a bag of
was
groceries.
it Kevin McAllister's mom?
No, I don't know. No, it wasn't. You see what I'm talking about? Just every time.
I love Home Alone.
Come on.
No, it wasn't. But still. Anyway, okay. So what was that? Oh, taking people on vacation.
Taking people on vacation to watch kids.
Right, and so you've done it. I love
have
it. All
done
right,
it.
Number 3.
Number 3, which this was a thing that I guess we could say I judged you for. I don't know. I don't feel like there was as much malice in it, but there was definitely like, I'm not doing that.
Right.
And that is co-sleeping.
Tell me about it.
So let's go back
when you let
to
the baby sleep in the bed with you.
Oh yeah, sorry.
I'm talking to non-parents.
Let's go back to the whole fear spiral thing. So the chief reason that I was like, no, I'm never doing that is because people talk about,
rolling over the baby.
And I found that terrifying. And I was like, why would anyone ever choose to put their baby in jeopardy? And if you want to Google that, you could go down a rabbit hole of fear. And so I was like, no, I'm not doing that. That's crazy.
Right.
And then I got a kid that didn't sleep. So what do you do? Like, I'm going to sit up with you all night and then fall over your... Like, I think the breaking point for me was I cried over that. I mean, it was a hormonal mess. So,
right.
But I had her in the chair and I fell asleep holding her like you do when you don't sleep for God knows how long it had been. And I was like... And I woke up holding her and I felt terrible. Like, oh my God, I could have dropped her, whatever. And then I'm like, how is this better for my kid than just like laying down with her? So I tried it one night where I just laid, I put my hand, you can't see me, but I laid with my hands under her like swaddled body, not touching her, no sheets on the bed, nothing. And I just laid like this. And then I didn't move the whole night because or sleep really. But I was like, okay, this could work. And then I actually went to work. We have a friend, Kate Key, who came over here as an adult from India. She was like, everybody in India sleeps with babies.
And there are a billion of them.
Yeah, there's a lot of people in that country. So she's like, this is not a thing. You're making it a thing. Right. So, I mean, I did that for like, I'm going to say 2 years. Yep. And I definitely said I would never do it and thought ill of people who did and just thought like, oh, this is because like people don't want to be like that close to their husbands and they're just using this baby as a shield. And like all this other complete nonsense. And like then you also read all this crazy stuff on the internet where people are like, oh, you get a baby to sleep in your own bed, you put them down drowsy but awake.
Oh my God,
do you know what would happen if I put down my kid drowsy but awake? You want to come to my house and do that? Like, no, that's not a thing that works. But maybe it works for other people's babies. I don't know. That was a big lesson for me in like, you got to do what works for you. Yep. And that worked for me, so I did it. Yeah. And I'm sorry for judging you for it.
It's okay because I probably judged other people too. Although maybe not because we always slept there were always like 6 of us in the same bed for a long time when I was growing up. So I'm just used to like family sleeping. But I think the scariest thing about co-sleeping, especially when you're trying not to co-sleep, is when you wake up from a deep sleep. You're like, oh shit, I was really sleeping. Because really with a newborn and for a long time, you just don't sleep. You're on this like surface level. And that's why parents are so irritable and crazy and just they're like holding on for dear life because you don't get any REM sleep.
No, right.
None at all. So if you can potentially get a little bit of sleep by letting this kid sleep right next to you, especially if you're a nursing mom, then you just have to do what works for you.
And she needed it too. Yeah. It was like not good for anybody. And I was like, what point am I trying to prove by not doing this?
I remember putting, I don't know which one it was, but you like watch the monitor all night. I had him in the rocking play next to the bed and I slept with my face hanging off the bed just at the right angle. I remember angling it just right so that as soon as I opened my eyes, I could see him. Like, so he's not, if his rock and play was right next to the bed, then when I opened my eyes, I wouldn't see him because you like look down at your feet. So I had him at this weird angle and it was just too much. So
no, but I mean, like, I also think that it's weird. It's deceptive because I'm telling you and I've always told you, but I'm also telling like people that listen to this. And
we have listeners.
But I don't talk to random people about this because I know there's that, like, somebody's going to listen to this and say, like, that lady is doing it wrong. And I've just got to a point where, like, I have to not care.
Yeah, there is no wrong. There's no wrong. All right, so that was number 3. What's number 2?
2, related to 3. another thing that you did that I said I wasn't going to do, which was not sleeping in the same bed as my husband.
Tell me about it.
So like every night we went to bed in the same bed, and I woke up in a different bed. And it was something that I had to do if we were going to co-sleep because of, like I said, all the weird like safety precautions that I was taking, and because he is a normal human. I am not in a sleep. I'm not a good sleeper. Like, kids aside, I've never really been. I'm too crazy. Like, I have too much going on in here. So he needs sleep. So I was like, this isn't working. I'm not bringing her into our bed. She's going to kick you in the spleen. No one's going to be happy. So I would, whenever, sometime between 11 p.m. and 4 a.m. when she woke up, I would go and sleep in the bed with her and not him for 2 years. And I distinctly remember you telling me that you and James like were doing that, and I was like, oh God, that sounds so awful. Like, that just sounds like just so not good.
Right.
I have always said, like, even for health benefits, I admire a lot. Like, my grandmother had 2 beds in her room, and she slept in one and her husband slept in the other. And a lot of Southern people still do that even to this day, because there's a lot of benefits to being able to get a very restful sleep.
Yeah, that's a good point.
In regards to, like, health-wise. Like, for example, if your husband or wife snores, you don't have to be right next to each other.
My grandparents did that too.
You can sleep soundly, and then whenever you need to sort of kind of come together and do
They're
your
kids. You always figure it out. You always figure it out.
So there's benefits to sleeping separately.
But it feels wrong. Like, it feels like you're...
I think it feels wrong because society puts that shame on it. But really,
like, if you're not
no
right
wrong
up
way.
under your partner, then you don't love them, and something's wrong. You're going to get divorced, and it's all over.
Right.
I know. So we have friends that are older than us. Lots of our friends are older than us, and so I feel like I'm surrounded by really awesome older people who know stuff, and I learn a lot. Right? Like, I think you need a healthy mix of friends, and so I'm appreciative of these older friends that I have, and I just remember them saying, like, you have to do what works for you. That is ultimately better for your relationship. And before we had kids, like, James snores, so the snoring thing was an issue. And then the sleeping thing, when we had one kid, like, somebody has to get sleep so we can alternate. Yep. And now we have 2 kids. Somebody has to take one and somebody has to take the other one. Like, it's the only way that we can make it work, because it's unfair. Otherwise, it's unfair, and it breeds a whole lot of resentment. If, because I'm a stay-at-home mom, then I should have to sleep with both kids so that you can get a good night's sleep. So that means I don't get a good night's sleep. But, like, to be on, like, he just took Emery last night because Emery wasn't feeling well. To be on for kids, like, to be on your game for kids, I think is just as hard, if not harder, than being on at work in like a professional environment. Because I remember,
it's a full-time job.
But besides the whole full-time job, I remember when I was working like professionally outside, you have a long night or a bad day or whatever, you go hide in the bathroom for a little while. You know?
I was just gonna say, you pee and no one cries.
Right. You go pee, you just take a minute, you like put on your headphones, you don't talk to anybody if you don't want to. Like, there are ways to check out from adults that there's just no opportunity to check out from kids ever.
I take a nap.
Right.
I'm like, I find the smallest stall so that I can just lean over.
Right, you just close your eyes.
But
there
is no way to check out from the kids the way you and I do it. Like, I'm sure there are people way saner than either of us that do.
Maybe do check out.
But I just figured out that I can't. I can't do that. And then I really mean this. I know people say this, but I mean, like, no, that's just like not to shade anyone that does do that. Like, because I have good friends that are like, yeah, I have kids and I'm going on vacation to France without them. Like,
right.
And I'm like, good for you. You can do it. I can't do that.
But
like,
then there's that other dynamic too, that when you do go away or you leave your kids with someone, you are not fully in your own space because you're constantly thinking about how they're doing, what they eat, who they're doing it with, like what are they doing at this very moment? Did they get to bed on time? Did she give them their snacks? Exactly what I told her to give? Is she giving my child something that he normally wouldn't eat that I don't want them to have? Oh my God, are they watching something that they're not supposed to be seeing on TV? Like, all that shit goes through your head. And
my kid has really not been watched by that many people, aside from her daycare provider. Like, she's been, for a total of one night, watched by someone who's not a member of my family. And it was my 2 best friends from college who I love and who did a great job taking care of her. When I did get back, her diaper was on backwards. but
it's still a great job.
She still loves them. Right. And they did a great job.
They did a good job. I can't think of any, I I think my kids have. I don't know that they've actually been with anyone overnight without us.
This wasn't even overnight. They were overnight. She was overnight with my mom once.
Yeah, but I think we've gone out and come back really late. So they've gone to sleep with my mom.
Is this that DMX concert you tried to get me to go to?
I did try to go to a DMX concert.
But it was till like 1,000,000 o'clock because he didn't.
Yeah, and we left before because I was like, listen, I don't stay up till 1 o'clock for anybody. No, I'm out. 90s, there's our...
I told you. I'm not even doing it. It's not even a theme.
All right, so were we on number 2?
This is number 1. You know, you already know what number 1 is.
Okay, so number 1.
Number 1 is extended breastfeeding.
Tell me about it.
I legit thought, like a thing that I used to say that I think my mom said to me was, if it's after two, I can't even say it with a straight face, Candice, but it was, if it's after 2, it's about you. Meaning like the mom doesn't want to let go and the mom like wants to hold on to her little baby, blah, blah, blah. And then I had my daughter who would probably still be breastfeeding if she had her way about it.
Right.
And it was just like, there's so much stigma attached. I mean, so in my brain, I was like, I'm going to breastfeed until she's 1. And then at 1, I'm going to be like, I'm done.
It's over.
And
we had a good run.
And I don't know why I thought it was just going to be like a clock or something. I don't know what I thought. I was just going to flip a switch and be like, no, that is a thing that is in the past.
Right.
And she was not having it. I didn't really try that hard.
Right.
But yeah, that is definitely, and that like really fed 2 and 3, like the co-sleeping, the sleeping part, all of that was related to breastfeeding, which I also didn't expect to feel so strongly about. Like, because I wasn't breastfed. I challenge anyone to find somebody who's like closer to their mom than I am.
Yeah.
And like, I'm reasonably healthy. So it's like, I don't have anything against formula, but I was like, I am breastfeeding. It works. But why am I going to stop doing it?
But they do say that co-sleeping often facilitates a good breastfeeding relationship between mother and child. So
yeah, I'm sure. I mean, it was all like a blur that seemed very interwoven. But she was just she got a lot from it. Like not only nutritionally, because she wasn't a big bottle. I was also kind of crazy, wouldn't give her a pacifier because they told me blah, blah, something.
Nipple confusion.
Yeah. So I didn't do that. And so then she wouldn't take a bottle. And then like Chris is still traumatized from the first time he tried to give her a bottle because he said he imagined that's what it's like to waterboard someone.
Oh my God.
It was like really unpleasant. So anyway, I was like, we're going to do this. So, it just kept going. And then it was like, there's a certain age where I was never super comfortable doing it in public. Not because I think there's anything wrong with it, but just because people made me mad.
It's personal.
Yeah. And it's like not for them. It's for her and me. But when you get to a certain age, then you really don't want to do it in public because people are going to be like,
what is
saying
happening?
Some stuff. Right. So yeah, I just did not. And I don't know what I thought when you were doing it. I think I just thought like, that's weird.
Like I absolutely advocate for breastfeeding no matter where you're at. I've always said this, and I think that, there shouldn't be stigma behind it, but I caught myself watching Game of Thrones. Do you remember?
Oh, when he was 12. Like, that's excessive.
Robbie, and he was like, what? He was like
12.
12, and he was sitting on the throne, like,
see, that's like, why do we have to put that in popular media? That's not helping anybody.
No.
Right, because that actually just feeds the idea that we're going too long. Because what are you going to do when he's 12?
Right,
like, shut
exactly.
up.
But what's so funny about it now is that, like, I definitely had that thought about extended breastfeeding. And if I saw people in public breastfeeding, I would feel uncomfortable. Like, not like that I thought that they shouldn't be doing it, but that I was like, what do I do with my eyes? How do I be a person? But now it's like I follow Humans in New York on something, Facebook, Instagram, whatever, and they posted this post. It's like, a picture post, then they have text under it. And it was this woman talking about being a mother, and she's breastfeeding the picture. Do you know how long I had to look at that picture to realize she was breastfeeding? I don't even see it. Like, it's not even a thing that registers to me as weird.
Right.
Like, it's just normal to the point that it's like background noise.
Yeah, that's great, though.
I saw one today where the mother had the baby breastfeeding with the breast out, and she covered her face.
Oh, yes, because they say
yeah.
cover up when you're breastfeeding.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and I was
funny.
like, I thought it was a really cool way to bring awareness to stop shaming people for feeding their children.
Yeah.
But yeah, she breastfed until she was a little bit more than 2. And I remember talking to Candice about it, and Candice was like, it'll be easier if you're trying to have another baby. It'll be easier to breastfeed or easier to wean when you get pregnant. I'm like, that sounds like a thing that doesn't make sense. Totally makes sense because you're like I think you said to me, it feels selfish to just do it for yourself when your kid really seems to still want and need it. But we just got to a point. First of all, Chris was really helpful here because I couldn't have done it without him and Belle, like Belle from Beauty and the Beast, because I substituted all the times that I'd be nursing with letting her listen to Little Town It's a Quiet Village, is what she calls that song, and cuddling.
Yeah.
So between Chris, Bell, and myself, we were like, I was like, we're just not sleeping enough. Also, you are eating.
Yeah.
Also, you have teeth, and you're almost like 2.5.
Right.
Like,
and you ask for it in a full sentence.
Yes. We talked about that too. And I was like, this is just getting weirder for me now because, like, there's things going on inside my body that make this unpleasant. Like, I just need to sleep. Yeah. So we did it. But I definitely did it for, like, I don't know, a year and a half longer than I ever thought I would. I don't regret it.
So till she was 2 or till she was over 2?
She was over 2. Mm-hmm. So, like, the big plan was that she was going to be weaned by the time Chris ran the New York City Marathon, which was November, and she's born in October. She wasn't. I mean, like, she made it. She could make it 20. Right. I think at that point she made it 48 hours without me.
Yep.
And then when she saw me, she was like, look, lady, I don't know what you thought.
Right. This is not over.
This is still on. So I think then we made the gentle break over Christmas because we get, where I work, you get a week off between Christmas and New Year. Chris was like, we're doing this.
And so what did you do? You just didn't.
So I had at that point had her down to only doing it when she woke up. I don't remember exactly how I got rid of the rest of it. I think I just substituted a lot of cuddling and singing. And so then when she woke up, she got Little Town Is a Quiet Village.
Got it.
Which probably fed the princesses thing a little bit.
A little bit.
About it. But she didn't fight me. Like I think it was, she was ready. She was really ready. And also, like, how much are you really producing?
Right.
At 2.5
I'm a milk cow, so I got milk.
That's right. You're like giving it to others.
I can give it away. I actually nursed, not Lincoln. We're done. I nursed Emery this morning. So Emery turned 2 in July, and So for me, my mom always tells this story all the time about how she nursed us, and she's so proud of this. She nursed us until we were 1, and on the morning we turned 1, we just were like, don't want that anymore. And then I bit her, was like, because she was insistent and was giving it to me, and then I bit her, and it was because my grandmother gave me some strawberry quick. Like milk with strawberry quick. Anyway, that's her whole story. I've been hearing
talk about a 90s reference. Strawberry quick.
That is what I've been hearing for 35 years. Okay, my whole life I've heard that. So I thought you nurse until 1, right? I thought that was extended breastfeeding. And then when my kid, like, then I looked at my kid and I was like, even though my kid's a giant, like, there's no way you're still a baby. You look huge, but you're still, 1 is a baby. Like, my kids didn't even walk at 1. So it just felt weird. And then it was much easier to stop when I was pregnant. I remember the doctor said, oh, it'll be easy because your body changes, so the milk changes, and they won't want it. And Lincoln was like, ooh, new flavor. Like, he just was.
I don't think that's
I don't know about you, but it's milk. I'm going down.
I'm going for
and
it.
also, like, who wouldn't want that? Like, someone's hugging you,
I know.
and, like, it's your, like, all the comfort you ever know. I don't think it's that weird that kids don't want to give it up.
I know. It's not. And it's warm all the time on demand. It's just.
Well, it's also easier for you. Like, you don't have to go heat anything up.
Right. So that's part of, so when I weaned Lincoln, it was because I was pregnant and I was really just like, I need a second for me because, like, there's someone inside of me, there's someone on top of me, there's someone next to me, like, there's too much. I need a second. Yep. And then now I don't have that because I'm not having another baby. So I was trying to figure out what it was going to, how
whatever
I was
you're gonna do, I'm
get.
gonna have to copy in a couple years.
Well, we just we were actually down to just the morning, and so he would come out of his crib, come and lay down with me and nurse. And the way I've gotten out of that in the last couple of weeks is just to not be in the bed.
Well, so that's the thing. So we stopped co-sleeping because I had no great desire to stop co-sleep. I didn't really care. I was like, this is fine. But I was like, you will take my clothes off while I'm asleep. Right. So this cannot be a thing. So I don't know. That's another thing. We've talked about this too. But when I have this baby, I'm like, are we going to go back down that road?
Right.
I mean, okay, let's be clear. I am not going back down that road. But is she going to be like, open for business? Cool. Right. Let's see what's going on over there.
I don't know. I think that Lincoln still has a pretty strong obsession. He calls it the milks. He has a pretty strong, like, boob obsession with me. His just hand is always in my shirt, or he's laying on me or something. I don't think that goes away for a little while. Because they'll associate it with being close. And then when they see the other kid, he never really asked to have any more. Although sometimes he plays around. He's like, I'm going to have some milk. And I was like, no, you're not. Get out of here. But really, it's just, I just saw an article, although I didn't get to read it, about, they talk about postpartum, like the postpartum depression, right? The, like, sort of after you have the baby, but that there's a feeling like that when you're going through weaning.
Oh, totally.
Like when you are starting to, and that people don't talk about it, don't appreciate it, don't understand that you are actually giving up something. And it kind of goes to what your mom said, after 2 is for you. I mean,
I get it.
There is something, but that doesn't appreciate exactly what it is that's for you, right? It doesn't appreciate exactly how hard it is for a parent to sort of like close one chapter. Like, I feel like parents or people understand more when your kids are going through other developmental stages, like they're going from being a preteen to a teenager to a young adult and that kind of thing. But nobody wants to appreciate this.
So I think that though, when it comes to a breastfeeding perspective, it's like watching your kids go away to college.
That's
There's
real.
that separation anxiety, because you're constantly together with your child. So I think that, I don't know, maybe in the future you'll be able to tell if what I've just said now makes sense, because, it's like it's literally separating from
and also
something that you've done.
For me, I fortunately didn't have postpartum depression, but I'm pretty sure that I had some kind of like undiagnosed postpartum anxiety. Unshocking because of the fear spiral thing. But I felt like breastfeeding was the one thing I knew I was doing right.
Right.
So why am I going to stop that? Like, this is the one thing, like, I can see you're getting bigger and healthier, so I know that this is working. So, like, I mean, and that's an insane thing to think. Of course, there were many things I was doing right, but you don't feel like that.
It doesn't feel like it in the moment. It doesn't. Well, those were really good. I really like those.
They're mostly things about you, so.
But they're awesome, though. And, it just points out how quickly things could change when you're put or faced with those situations, to the point where you're saying, oh, I would never do that, and then you're presented with an option or a situation where you're confronted with the possibility of doing it, and then really at that point it doesn't really look that bad,
right?
Right, because you're just trying to survive like the rest of us.
Exactly.
I'd say so.
So the one thing that I was going to say that James said, not the thing he judged, but the thing he thought he would do, is he said he thought he would read to his kids every night. And there are plenty of nights where he's just like, all right, we got to go to sleep. Turn off the lights. It's just like, but this idea that you're not reading to your kid every night. You know how important reading is? Like, it's so super important. You better do it every single. And he's just like,
I thought I was going to make my own baby food, Candice.
Ooh.
I didn't do that.
Yeah.
We go to Chipotle. I mean, she eats black beans, so I'm going to say that's a win.
It's a win.
But, like, I thought I was going to I bought sweet potatoes. I was like, we're going to make sweet potato baby food in Splendor. And I was like, who did I think I was when I bought these that are now growing eyes?
Right. I love it. Okay, well, I think that's good. I'm really glad that you came, and I'm really glad that you shared those things. I feel like the takeaway from here is, one, don't be an asshole and judge people, especially our friend Lisa actually tells me something I always remember, which is, don't judge people whose kids are older than yours, because you haven't reached that point yet, right? And so in this case, you don't even have kids. Shut your mouth. Like,
so is that your hashtag MomSoHard tip of the episode?
It should be. It is. Let's go with that. So the tip for this week is, don't judge people whose kids are older than yours. And that includes who have kids and you don't, or who have more kids than you do, because you literally just don't know. You haven't reached that milestone. You haven't reached that step. You haven't been confronted with, like, 5 kids hungry at the same moment. Like, you just don't know. And so just shut your mouth. Like, it's just...
Well, and you know this having two, I don't know yet, but I'm sure all the things I just said I'm doing for her, I'm going to do different things I thought I said I'd never do for him, because every kid is going to want something
because
different.
Of course you don't want the first one to forget or like feel like you don't love them enough, and so you're going to make sure to have all your special time with them. No, you're not. It's going to be all collected together. It's like, all right, come and sit here because I can't do this twice. Okay, so thank you so much for coming, Amanda.
Oh my gosh, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to see Candice. I don't talk to grown-ups that much.
I know, I love it. We have like late night chat, texting back and forth. That's really how I keep in touch with most moms, because everybody's so busy.
Mm-hmm.
The only last thing I'm going to talk about in the last second that I have for this episode is, there was a post that went viral this week. This woman, her name is Olivia. I don't remember her whole name, but anyway, she posted on Instagram or something, a post that started with how to love your child that you didn't plan to have.
I saw that. You posted that on the Breezy podcast page.
And so it just really hit me in this moment because, of course, she's getting lots of people are like, yes, that's so real. And lots of other people are like, you selfish bitch, like, blah, blah, blah. People are trying to have kids and you have kids and you're so selfish, you know, but really, I think what I took away from that the most is don't be afraid to put to words the feelings that you're having, especially about being a parent. Because again, there's no manual, there's nobody who explains all of this stuff to you, and that every feeling that you're having is vital. Like my favorite thing to tell people, especially maybe not in the moment, it doesn't help them, but like you are not special in this feeling that you're having about parenting, because we're all going through unless you're married to unless your kid is like a cyborg cyclops, like we're all going through the same kind of shit with our kids and the same sort of confusion about how we feel, mixed with sleep deprivation, mixed with probably not eating, and it doesn't go away.
It just changes over the stages of your child's life,
right? From
infant to adulthood.
Mm-hmm. And so I really appreciated that she said this thing that, of course, in my situation, like plan to have children, but there are lots of people who don't plan at the moment to, but that doesn't mean that they don't love their kids. They're just trying to figure out how to move ahead in this space, given that they had another plan for themselves, right? So Amanda talked about like making assumptions about what her kid would be interested in based on what she's interested in, and trying to like force your will. Like you didn't have this idea about yourself before, and now you're faced with it in the midst of it being super fucking hard. Like, how do you reconcile all of those feelings? And just to be able to say that stuff out loud, especially online, knowing that people
can be very
vicious, and
especially behind a computer and keyboard.
And hypocritical, because I'm sure lots of those people who say the like worst, meanest things have also had some of those. They're like dark feelings that you are afraid to say out loud, but if you don't say them out loud to get some sort of feedback or validation, then you spiral thinking that you're the only one and you must be so terrible. You know what I mean?
But when you come to the point where you made the decision to just post it and say, I'm going to talk about this.
Right.
You've already reconciled yourself how you feel about it. And validation at this point is not important. Right. It's more of, I may be able to help someone.
Right. And that's what she said.
With this particular message that I'm bringing forward. And that's important.
So I thought that was super timely, especially for what I was talking about with Amanda tonight. And we kind of talk about this in jest, and, we're kind of like joking about it, but it is real stuff. And it is real that people make judgments about other people and then harshly judge themselves, and don't leave the space for themselves or for others to really like figure this stuff out the way we're all trying to figure it out. So on one hand, like I really appreciate that, especially with my friend, like I have the kind of mom friends that we can joke about this stuff, and in joking about it, figure it out together. And I'm really sad that there are people who don't have that. And so one of my other feelings about tonight is just to make sure that you're finding people in your village, in your like friend group, to really talk about this whole parenting thing, because it's real and it's hard, and it's not all poofy dresses and birthday parties and, it's not all Transformers and great, right? Some of it is really friggin' hard, and all of the feelings are valid, even some of the deepest, darkest feelings that you might have. And so you need to find someone to talk about that with, whether it's a friend or a therapist. Like, don't be afraid of therapy. Don't be afraid to talk to someone to make sure that you get what you need.
Truth, and very important.
So on that note, again, thank you so much, Amanda.
Thank you.
And thank you everyone for tuning in tonight and always. We will be back next week, Thursday at 7:30. And I hope you'll join us then. Until next time. This show is produced by Tom Ortiz at Digital Stream Radio. It's available for download on Podbean. Follow us at Facebook at Breezy Moms Podcast, or email us at breezymomspodcast@gmail.com. Until next time, don't stress, just breathe.